It's that time of the summer. The Florida Gators are about to have a stacked weekend with Grille in the Ville.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. Sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is looking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. So that's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And today's Dinger Tuesday. I'm just saying. But this weekend is Grille in the Ville. July 27th is the big weekend for Florida, where they have a lot of 2026 kids. We'll talk about those another day, but the 2025 kids that are going to be on campus, big. The only 2026 kids that we'll talk about today are Will Griffin and Jalen Waters. And that is only going to be mentioned in passing right now because Will Griffin, 4-star quarterback, Jalen Waters, 4-star cornerback, are both going to be on campus as well, and they are the two Florida Gators commits to the 2026 class, which, by the way, wild. Just an awesome start to the class. I understand there's, a long way to go from here and now, and a lot of things can change, but to start the class, Will Griffin, Jalen Waters, huge, especially when you look at where Florida was for the start of the 2025 class. There really wasn't much traction early on. Like in July of 2023, I think Waltez Clark was the only Florida Gators commit for the 2025 class. And now you've got two 4-star players at premium positions committed already. That's something to kind of pat yourself on the back for a little bit there. But the 2025 kids that Florida has on campus, a lot of them Florida Gators commits. And I think that you can argue the other ones might be Florida Gators leans. The first player that we'll talk about is Nayshawn Montgomery, who we talked about yesterday a good bit, where I think that he could be part of this Florida Gators receiver class that looks so damn good. The Florida Gators this past weekend added Vernell Brown III, a 5-star receiver, which, again, really weird. He's a 5-star consensus, but every single place has him as a 4-star. It's because he's such a high 4-star that other rankings, they're all more spread on guys, and it kind of bumps him up in the composite. It's a really weird way of going about it, but it's how it works. If you're voting for someone and you go, yeah, we both voted that you'd finish third in this, two people vote, you finish third. Someone else votes about a different person. It goes, yeah, one person ranked them first, one person ranked them 11th. The person who got 2 third-place votes, going to be higher. That was a bad explanation, but a quick one, right? And kind of helped a little bit, hopefully. But Vernell Brown III committed this past weekend. Joshua Moore, who will not be here this weekend, or at least at the time of recording this late on Monday night, the expectation is that he will not be in Gainesville this weekend for Grille in the Ville. However, Vernell Brown III will be, and he's committed. Joshua Moore won't be. He's committed. And I said Nayshawn Montgomery could be an elite third piece. And I don't mean that I think he's going to be elite. I will say, I think he's the second best receiver of the bunch. Just I don't know. Just the more I watch Nayshawn Montgomery, the more I go, damn, he's pretty damn good at football. I don't think he's as good overall as Vernell Brown III, but I do think he's really freaking good. But Nayshawn Montgomery will be on campus this weekend. And like we've said, Nayshawn Montgomery feels like a Florida Gator lean big time. He just does. It's one of those things where he said, and this has been my stance, and it will be my stance, that he's going to commit a couple of weeks into his senior season. My stance is that he wants to be a Florida Gator, but he's setting that commitment date so that if Florida doesn't do well early on, he can be like, you know what, never mind. Think him out on that one. And I think that's Nayshawn Montgomery's approach, which is a good approach, again, because if you commit and then they start failing and you decommit, then I don't know, people are going to talk about it, right? People are going to be like, he left once the going got tough, he left. He's just waiting, which is a good idea. Also offensively, Vernell Brown III will be there. You will have both running backs, Waltez Clark and Chad Gasper, on campus this weekend. By the way, Chad Gasper, first off, my favorite of the two running backs. Second, the third segment of today's episode, Chad Gasper joins the show, Florida Gators running back commit. You will also have this weekend Tayshawn Gelsey on campus, tight end, athlete, receiver, whatever place is going to have him listed as whatever position. Tayshawn Gelsey will also be on campus for Grille in the Ville this weekend. And Gelsey's someone where, I feel like I've been very consistent in saying this. Wouldn't shock me if he kept rising up a little bit. He should be a unanimous 4-star when it's all said and done. You watch his film at receiver, and yeah, tight end isn't receiver, but you watch what he does and you go, man, again, I'm not saying he's Kyle Pitts, but stylistically, he does a lot of the things Kyle Pitts did. I'm not saying he's going to translate to the SEC to that level, but when you look at ceiling, Tayshawn Gelsey should be there. And a lot of places have come out, recruiting services have been like, yeah, if we think of you as an NFL player, we'll give you this ranking. Ceiling-wise, pretty damn good. I'm just going to go out there and say that. Pretty damn good. Also for Nashawn Montgomery, which by the way, thanks Keith Niebuhr, I think that's how it's pronounced. Keith Niebuhr put together this list for On3, and Nashawn Montgomery will be on campus July 25th as well. And yeah, July 27th for Grille in the Ville this weekend. Look, I think that it's very clear Nashawn Montgomery is a Florida Gators lean. I'd be freaking ecstatic if he joined the class. I would have been ecstatic if Nashawn Montgomery joined the class before Joshua Moore committed. And when Vernell Brown III was still very much up in the air, I was like, hey, man, I want Nashawn. Like, I'm fine with him being one of the top guys in your class, if not the top receiver in your class. You got a chance for him to be the second or third considered receiver. Some places might have him first. But you've got a chance for Nashawn Montgomery to be in there as just, he's one of our top three. And that'd be ideal for, again, if you have Vernell Brown III, some places are going to have Nashawn and Joshua Moore above him. Like, they're so interchangeable. That's a good kind of competition to have. Where you go, they're so interchangeable between who's better and who's – it's an awesome thing to have. The Florida Gators also defensively will have quite a few players here, more defensive players than offensive players, and another uncommitted defensive player. And I feel weird saying uncommitted, but not yet committed defensive player. We're going to talk about that and so much more right here on Locked On Gators when we get back. I love sports and I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as playoffs wind down, you get fewer games. It's just how it happens. The sports just aren't sporting like we want them to. A lot of MLB teams are playing game 100, so quite a bit through that season as well. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. Don't forget, today, Dinger Tuesday. If you miss out, it's your fault. Like you're just leaving money on the table. You want to leave it on the floor. FanDuel's an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks for being Locked On Gators, your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. And like I said, 2025 class will be represented decently defensively this weekend at Grille in the Ville. Again, most of the kids that will be on campus will be 2026 kids. That's how it is every summer. Because for most of the remainder of the year, you're not going to be doing the 2025 work with a bunch of kids. You're going to have a way narrower base that you're looking at. So you start on 2026, which again, Florida already good start for 2026 with Will Griffin and Jalen Waters, two premium players at premium positions. Chef's kiss it, Billy. But the 2025 class, you will have linebacker Ty Jackson on campus. And I feel like I say this every time Ty Jackson visits or does anything involving the Florida Gators. Really can't stress enough how important it is that he's coming out here for Grille in the Ville. We talked about this a week or two ago when it was announced that he would be here for Grille in the Ville. I was like, look, this is big because when Ty Jackson took the official visit to Gainesville in June, he canceled a visit with Florida State to do it. That's a very important detail. He had a scheduled official visit with Florida State, and he canceled it to come to Gainesville. That was prior to that, we had not really talked about Ty Jackson on this show. He did that, and immediately we went, Florida's a player for him. Because you don't cancel a visit with a program to reschedule, or you don't cancel a visit to replace them with another program unless you are seriously considering that replacement program. And there were a lot of Florida Gators fans when he took that Florida visit to just go, yeah, but that's just, that one visit doesn't really mean much. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to come back for Grille in Ville. I'm going to be there for that. So that's a June visit, officially. It's a July visit, done officially, Grille in Ville. And Ty Jackson has said that he plans on coming down for a few games this fall, one of which being Miami. So that would be a June visit officially, a July visit unofficially, an August visit unofficially, and you come down for homecoming September visit. Quite a few going. Actually, September homecoming's October because it's a Kentucky game. But point remains, you can come out for UCF. I think it's a September game. But yeah, there's just saying those kind of visits. Like you don't take those visits if you're not seriously considering Florida. And for a team that had Miles Graham and Aaron Childs for this 2024 class, currently has Miles Johnson, who will be on campus this weekend for Grille in Ville, and can add Ty Jackson, still probably going to be in it for Tavian Wallace, still going to be in it for a few other players, maybe toward the bottom of the board there. Just saying. That's pretty confident there. And then, of course, you also look at Jalen Wiggins, who for so long felt very wishy-washy after the first 3 or 4 months of his commitment felt pretty wishy-washy that, it kind of came out of nowhere and people were like, oh, well, is he going to stick with the Florida Gators? He seems to be one of the most, adamant recruiters for this 2025 recruiting class for the Florida Gators. Like Jalen Wiggins has been out there recruiting consistently. Like I know that when we were like, oh yeah, he's visiting Florida State, is that a concern? I don't think it is that much at the moment. And things can change recruiting wise. We can go, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure he said he shut it down. We can go, yeah, he said he shut it down, we're done. But things change. Adarius Hayes said he shut it down last year, and he didn't shut it down last year. We all know that one. But I think that that's a good sign for Jalen Wiggins, where similar to the Tavares Dice situation in Auburn, where kid committed, there was some traction to go elsewhere, and then kind of reined him back in and reeled him back in and got him to stay committed to your program. I think that goes a long way, honestly. Like I don't know. I don't know if you watch Love Island. We're about to be really telling here. It's fine. I'm engaged. There's a reason I watch the show. If you watch Love Island and someone, is coupled up, they bring in a bombshell, and it's like, oh, well, my head's turned. A lot of times they continue the head turning and they go. When they come back, you go, oh, like that's a pretty strong bond you got there. We're done with Love Island. But that's kind of what it felt like with Jalen Wiggins. It was like, oh, yeah, he committed to Florida. Bombshell. Florida State came in, and it was like, oh, well, might have the head turned a little bit. But you come back to Florida, it's like, okay, I feel pretty confident there with Jalen Wiggins at least. Things can change again. But for now, feel pretty secure here. You also have Jeremiah McLeod, who recently transferred to Leesburg in Georgia, Lee County, where he was in Havana, Florida when he committed, going back home to Georgia, remaining a Florida Gators commit. I've seen quite a few clips of him in practice lately, and he's been kind of just wrecking sugar honey iced tea over there. Which is a good sign. But I do think that he's someone that I don't know what his ceiling is. I think his floor is rotational pass rusher on the interior of the defensive line. And honestly, cool with that. I'm fine with having a guy who's a rotational pass rusher on the interior of the defensive line. College football is taking more of an NFL approach, right? It's shifting more toward the NFL game. And the NFL game is kind of shifting more toward college football as well. But NFL teams have a lot of those guys where it's like, yeah, we're not going to have you on the field much for what we think is going to be a running down. But obvious passing downs or expected passing downs, you're going to be on the field. And guess what? Now, that used to just be, oh, yeah, on 3rd and long, we're going to put you out there. Now, that's 2nd and long, 2nd and medium, 3rd and long, 3rd and medium. So many down. Like now you throw the ball more than you run the ball, a lot of teams. Having a guy where you go, yeah, you're a situational pass rusher, those situations are more valuable now than they used to be. They're more frequent now than they used to be. It's good to have a guy like that on your team. It's helpful to have a guy like that on your team. You need it on your roster. Speaking of guys that are helpful, valuable, versatile, guys that you need on your team, running back Chad Gasper, Florida Gators 2025 commit, will be joining us next on Locked On Gators. Joining me now for Locked On Gators is Chad Gasper, Florida Gators running back commit for the 2025 recruiting class. And Chad, I'm just going to hit you right away with it. What was it that made you want to commit to the Florida Gators for 2025?
They just showed from the beginning when they offered me, they showed a lot of interest, and I just love the atmosphere, the environment of the school. Yeah.
What's your relationship like with Coach DeBarge-Luke?
We're pretty close. We talk pretty consistently, like almost every day. Pretty good.
And can I ask you this question? Are you completely shut down or is the door still open for other programs?
Yeah, I'm completely shut down. Ever since I came to my OV, I was like, yeah, I know this place I want to be at.
Love to hear that. And can you walk me through your recruitment just a little bit? Were you in contact much with guys like DJ Lagway throughout the process, or no?
Nah, not really. I've heard of him because like he lived like 40 minutes away from me, so I've heard of him. My teammates heard of him, so yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, you had some pretty early interest from schools like Michigan, Ohio State earlier on,
Yeah.
Tennessee, and Kansas more recently.
Yeah.
How did you kind of narrow down the list of, okay, these are the schools I want to focus on, and then eventually, of course, locked in Florida?
Basically, it's just the schools that showed interest to me, and the schools that I see myself being there for 4 years. Because some like, yeah, technically, because I'm like me being from Texas, like sometimes like I don't really like the cold like that, and I'm not gonna be playing football 24/7. So I basically pick somewhere where I know like the environment is good for me, like it's normal to me.
Yeah, and I'm just curious, what kind of were you looking at with these schools? Like I know Kansas's offense is really fun, but can be cold. So was it kind of just like, hey, a school that's fun, good football school, warm weather, and that was it?
School, yeah, warm weather, the way they utilize the running backs, and the academics too. So
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing up how they utilize the running backs, because whenever you watch your film, a lot of pistol set, and you play the slot a bit. Is that something that you're kind of looking forward to at the next level of being moved in formation a lot?
Yep, I am.
Yeah, and then in at least your 2023 film, you guys played out of the pistol a lot, which kind of made me ask. There was an NFL running back that I asked his opinion on this, and he thinks running out of pistol is probably the hardest way to run out of. So is that something for you where it was kind of like, hey, I'm comfortable doing this. I've been doing this. So this should make your transition easier to play for Florida, who runs a lot of pistol set as well?
Yeah, and that's how I kind of like narrowed down my decision too, because I was looking at the way their offense is, like other schools' offenses was, and I just saw like my dad like send me like clips of just Florida offense. I was like, they were in the same offense as me, as my school. So I was like, I just kept that in the back of my mind before I made my decision.
Yeah, and I do have to ask if there was any running back. I'm pretty sure I saw that Jonathan Taylor is one of your running backs. Are there any other running backs that you watch and try to model your game after? And what is it about Jonathan Taylor?
His explosiveness when he gets the ball. To me, that's kind of like how I run the ball. I'm very explosive, run, elusive. That's kind of how I am.
Yeah, I love the first play of your 2023 film that you have on Huddle because you kind of mow a defender down, and then it looks like as you're running into the end zone, you kind of look back at him a little bit. And I gotta just say that was like that kind of swagger as a running back. I was like, hey, I really love that because that kind of confidence, like you needed that.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear about the coach. You do running back work with Coach T, if I'm not.
I do. Yeah,
Can you kind of talk me through the work that you do there?
Oh, I started with him going into my freshman year because I knew that I wanted to take football to the next level. So when I first got there, he just basically been mentoring me like in everything I do. Like in training, he tells me the do's and don'ts. Same with my dad, but he tells me the do's and don'ts. And yeah, I take it all. I just soak it all in. You know, we put in some great work too.
Was he a part of your recruitment at all when you were like narrowing down schools? I know that there's a lot of trainers I've spoken to where it's like, yeah, they kind of also not that they intrude, but that they're kind of included in your camp, I guess, that helps you make that decision and look at other schools.
A little bit. He's been kind of like just telling me like what schools, not kind of. He's just been like asking me like what schools I would want to go to and where would I prefer and stuff. So that's a little bit.
You've mentioned before that you want to be a business major. Is there anything specific that you're looking to do? Any specific major that you have, or any specific field that you're looking to get into?
No, it's not. Not really.
And I gotta ask, just what do you do in your free time here, especially now that you've got quite a bit of it?
I just play video games, really. Hang out with my friends.
Now I have to ask.
About it, man. Work out a lot.
College football 25?
Yep.
But hold on. First off, because you're young enough to ask, did you ever play NCAA 14?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
How you liking college football 25 now?
I'm liking it a lot. I've been playing it nonstop.
What's your team? Your main team, I guess, that you play with?
Main team. I got multiple. I got Florida, Alabama, and Miami.
Using Jalen Milroe a good bit, I'm assuming, because he's kind of a cheat code on it. Don't worry, we'll get the Miami part out of you. Just wait for that one. We'll get it. I also want to ask before I let you go. Do you have any tattoos?
No, I don't have any right now.
All right, I just gotta. I'm a tattoo guy, and I just gotta ask who they do and what their favorite one is. But thank you so much, Chad, for just taking a little bit of time with me to just help to get us know you a little bit, because I feel like we don't get to do that until you're on campus. So I appreciate you taking a bit of time with me, Chad. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Thank you very much, Chad Gasper, once again. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country, NFL 33, and find all of our gaming content, including a Florida Gators Dynasty with Whole Nine Sports, WHOLENINE Sports on YouTube.